Hello, it's Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, and in this live stream video on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, I'm going to be talking about five ways that you can pay for your solar and save on your energy costs every single month. So I want to talk about some of the things that you might be seeing on Facebook, Instagram, maybe TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. LinkedIn, different social media platforms. When you see ads, some of these ads are saying that solar is free or the government's going to pay for your solar panels, and this is just not true. So I wanted to debunk that. There is no such thing as free solar. There is such a thing as no out-of-pocket costs, meaning you can finance a solar system and it'll cost $0 out of your pocket, $0 down, as long as you get approved for financing or a lease or whatnot. So there are lots of ads and marketers out there that are marketing to people that say, things like free solar or the government's paying for your solar or the county is offering a deal. These things just are not true. And the only reason why they're doing that is they're trying to hook you, because that's what marketers they're doing. They're hooking you in and they want you to click on their ads so that you give your information and someone will call you or multiple companies will call you. This is just basic lead generation, and it's totally, I want to say it's fine, but the message can be misleading. So I once helped a lead generation company, if you will. Somebody had invested all this money in Facebook ads. And I called through the first list because they said, we have all these leads, we need some help. And I said, sure, I'll call some of them. And we were going to work out a way to work together. Well, the first 5 people I called, they're like, well, is this free? And I was like, no, this is not free. Well, I thought it was free. It's not free. So I want to talk and share with everybody watching this. And if you're watching live, say hello. If you're watching the replay, make sure to say hello and write any questions you might have in the comments. If you're watching on LinkedIn, I invite you to YouTube, subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified of other videos that I create about solar, solar loans, solar leasing, how much solar you need, how many batteries you need, how net metering works. I just had a wonderful conversation with a childhood friend who's looking at building a house and wants to, they're weighing the cost of bringing electricity to the home because it's vacant land or barren. There's nothing there. And so they're looking at, is it more cost effective to bring grid tied energy lines to their home or go solar off grid? So we had a long conversation about what that might look like, understanding their all the different appliances that they might have in the home, and then what's the better cost, what's the better route to go. So, and that of course brought up, how much will this all cost? And it's really, we don't know yet, because we don't know how many solar panels he's going to need. We don't know how many storage or batteries he's going to need. There's a lot to discuss. And so the same applies to grid tied solar. So when I'm sharing these 5 ways that you can pay for your solar, I'm talking grid tied, meaning you live in a home that has an electrical source, or you're tied to your utility company through your electric meter, and you're getting an electric bill every single month for the energy that your home consumes. So that this is called grid tied solar, and this is what most homeowners are. Like, most people don't live off the grid. If you lived in a city, county, in an incorporated area, the likelihood of you being able to go off grid is very slim. Like, you have to go through special approval and all of that. So just keep that in mind. When I'm talking about these things, it's about grid tied solar, meaning you have solar panels, you might get a battery, and excess energy is either going to the battery or to the grid, and you're going to get a net metering credit. So if you live outside of California and you have net metering and it's a 1-to-1 ratio exchange, meaning for every kilowatt hour you send to the grid, you're going to be able to use that later on in the year. You might want to consider getting solar before any state laws change, meaning that your utility commissioner changes the way that they allow you to use your solar, your excess solar. Because in California, if you've been following along for a while, you know that the three major utility companies, PG&E, SCE, and SDG&E, in April, they did away with net metering 2.0, and now we are under NEM 3.0, where we do not get credits for. We do get a small credit, but it's not fair. It's not a fair exchange. For every energy credit we send out to the grid when we want to use it later on, we can't. We have to buy it from the grid, and anything we export that's excess, it's roughly 6 to 8 cents a kilowatt hour. So that we're going to get a credit for, but that doesn't get paid out until a year after being grid, or I guess, interconnected. So I did have some people get interconnected last week. It's very exciting. We had some installations going in last week. We've had some people pass final inspection. So a lot of things are happening, and this is all from activities that happened earlier in the year. I'm very happy for these homeowners because they are going to save on their energy costs. So NEM 3.0 is different than the rest of the country, if you will. So let me reiterate that going back to solar is not free. It is not paid it's not paid for by the government. There's no program like that. So you just want to clear that, make sure everyone knows that, because there are ads out there saying that, and it's just not true. Okay. The other thing is there are some states that offer incentives like SREC, state renewable energy credits, or state tax credits, in addition to federal tax credits. So SRECs would be some in states like New Jersey. I was going to say countries. States like New Jersey. I believe Pennsylvania has some. Virginia has some state renewable energy credits. I think there's some out there. So if you live in a state, New York has state SRECs. So there are some states and some parts of your state that have additional incentives like state tax credits. And if that's the case, Illinois has some SRECs too. You may want to look into solar because you can get paid by the state for creating renewable energy. And they have, renewable energy goals that they have to meet. So when they pay people for their an SREC, they're improving their renewable energy I don't want to say portfolio, but for some it's a portfolio. But that is a way for them to get more carbon neutral. So they buy state renewal. They give people an energy credit for the excess energy that their system is generating, or not even excess, but just clean energy that it's generating. And so the owner of that system, whether it's a homeowner or a business owner, they benefit from that financially for several years. So they're all unique, and the credits are all different. So you really want to consider that, because it's going to help offset your cost of your overall solar system, which reduces your levelized cost per kilowatt hour of your solar system over time. I should probably do a video on that, just what level. I did in the last one touch on it briefly of what a levelized cost per kilowatt hour is, but what it is the total cost of the system minus any tax credits, minus any SRECs, divided by the overall energy production for, call it 25 years. And it matters, because if you're paying 50 cents a kilowatt hour, like some of us in California are, and you can get a levelized cost per kilowatt hour to 10 to 12 cents, or even 20 cents a kilowatt hour, even 25 cents a kilowatt hour. It all depends on the ways that you pay for your solar. It will definitely be a massive savings to you over time. So, state, these incentives are very helpful. State tax credits, if you have I think New Mexico offers state tax credits. I think parts of, I think Arizona might. There's different, Texas may have some state tax credits. Wherever there's a state tax credit for going solar, it is based off of your state tax liability, the tax liability that you have for your state. So this is separate than federal. Federal tax credits are the ITC is 30% of the cost of the solar system. And whatever that might be, you just have to have the federal tax liability available to be able to recoup the tax credit. So it's not a rebate. So it's not like it's just free money that the government's giving you for going solar. It doesn't work like that. It is based off your tax liability at the federal and state level. So if you have questions about that, go online, Google what is a federal tax liability, what is a state tax liability, and it is the amount of tax that you owe to the state or the federal government for being a citizen of the United States of America. So that's what makes you eligible for them. So there's that. Okay, so there are 5 ways. The first way that is the most common, I would say, has been, at least for the last 5 years, and that is to take out a solar loan. And oftentimes these are offered through the installer, not through the installer, but in conjunction or partnership with the installer doing the installation of your solar system. So I use a handful of solar installers in the state of California, 2 of them for nationwide. And oftentimes when I'm presenting a solar proposal to a homeowner, I'm doing it with the financing of the lender that is connected or partnered up with the installer that's going to do the project. So oftentimes, as long as you have a credit score higher than 640, you're likely going to get approved. Some of these solar lenders, do not take into consideration your debt to income ratio. So that's good because they're looking at as we are replacing the utility cost with a solar payment instead. Oftentimes these are zero down. The interest rates can vary from 4% all the way up to 12%. And the terms can range from 5 years to 25 years. This is a very individualized conversation of how you run your finances in your home, how you do money. And so really you want to kind of break it down to how you want to pay for your solar system. I will say the lower the interest rate, the longer out you go, is going to give you the lowest monthly payment, but that's for spread out over 25 years. If you were to go with a higher interest rate for a longer term, you're going to have a higher monthly payment, but your loan amount's going to be lower. And if you are one to pay off loans fast, you might want to go with that type of loan. Like say if you plan to pay it off in 5 to 10 years, you might want to go with that because the loan amount is less than if you go out higher interest rate longer term. So it's totally up to you. And this is where, you with a solar consultation, you do talk about finances because it's really important to understand how you and your spouse, if you're married, how you do your finances. So some people are like, nope, I don't care. I want to go out 25 years. I want the lowest interest rate. I want the lowest monthly payment. As long as it is less than what I'm paying to the utility company, I'm fine with that. Then that's great. Then that's the kind of loan you're going to want. That's just the conversation you have to have with yourself and with the solar consultant like me. So a lot of people take out solar loans, $0 out of pocket if you qualify. And usually it's for 640 and above. You have a job and some income. There's times where I've seen people get declined for a loan because their FICO scores, 600, or they don't make enough money or whatever it might be. I would say $50,000 is probably a safe bet if your credit score is higher than 640 and you have at least $50,000 income. You might not have to, you likely wouldn't worry about that. But I would say in California, where I live, we very rarely see incomes that low. So I've not had very many people fail the credit approval for the solar loan. So that's the most popular way, or at least it has been. The cost to borrow money, obviously, in the last year has gone up, just the nature of the Fed and interest rates, and the cost to borrow money has gone up. So the cost to borrow money, along with any mortgages or solar loans or any personal loans or car loans, it's all gotten a little bit more expensive. So that is one thing. And once you get locked into these loans, you have one opportunity to have it reamortized. There are some lenders out there that will reamortize multiple times. None of the ones that I work with do that currently. Mike Morihone. Hello from Fort Lauderdale. Good to see you, Mike. Uh, let's see. So going back to it, a lot of these lenders don't reamortize multiple times over. They usually only reamortize one time, and that's usually at the 18-month mark. So you could pay down the loan as much as you want, but if you miss that reamortization period, you're going to be stuck with the payment that you have. So, and usually that reamortization period is to gather the tax credit, the 30% federal tax credit. If you have a state tax credit, you can do that. Or if you just have some extra money you want to pay down the loan, you can do that too. And what it'll do is it'll reamortize the monthly payment, but it's going to stay fixed. So you have that time frame to gather up all that money, pay it down, and the loan will reamortize out for the rest of the, I guess, 22 years if you do a 25-year loan. And the monthly payment will be reamortized to what you pay down the loan with. And usually there's a floor and a ceiling, and the ceiling is the most you're going to pay, and the floor is the least amount you're going to pay. It's all individualized based on system sizes, based on any additional work that might need to be done to put solar on your rooftop, as well as storage. So lots of things go into this. It's not one of those things like people used to ask me, well, why does that person have 8 panels? Or why do they have panels on the front of the house? Why do I have to? Why do I have to have them on the back or whatnot? This all has to do with positioning to the sun and your roof, how your roof is oriented, and the best solar production out of your home. And then some people go, well, so and so paid this much, and why am I paying this much? Or I'm paying this much, but my neighbor had to pay this much. Again, it goes back to how are they paying for it? Are they financing it? What kind of loan did they take out? What all did they have done? Every home is not equal. They're not all the same. So this is partly why. But the first way that you can pay for solar is by taking out a solar loan, likely zero down. You can pay more down the road. Like you can pay extra throughout the 18-month period. And so when it reamortizes, it could be less. It could be less if you pay down more than what the solar tax credit is worth. Andrew Page says, here in Georgia, I was told we cannot go completely off the grid. Is that right? Most solar loans, so this ties into the lender, you have to be grid tied. And you will want to check with a CPA. I haven't talked to a CPA in a while about this, but I believe for the most part that the tax credit, the federal tax credit, you must be grid tied. I should call a CPA and ask them about that because that's a great question. But in Georgia, we can't go completely off grid. It all depends within your city, county, age, J, and you have to prove a case for why you want to go off grid. Like I live in a neighborhood, I can't go off grid. I'm living as much off grid as possible with solar and storage, meaning I'm not relying on the utility company as much to send me power because I'm generating it and using my battery. But yes, it all depends on your jurisdiction and your utility company. Like if you live in the boonies and there's no power line there, no power source, you're going to probably live off the grid or figure out a way to do that. Kind of like my friend who's looking at property in Oregon. So hope you're doing well, Andrew. You can sell back to the grid being grid tied, but a friend got a quote and they were told they can't go completely on their your own usage. Yes, so that's called exporting and importing. It's called net metering. So you're generating energy for your home. You're using it in real time. Whatever you're not using, you export to the grid. Or if you have a battery, to the battery first, top off the battery, and then goes to the grid. And they have net metering accounts or energy metering, yeah, accounts that they set up, and they basically, it's like a banking document, right? It's like a you whatever you export to the grid, if for that month you can pull from it, or for that year for that matter, you can pull from it. Some utilities have net billing, which means they true up every single month for import export. I'm just looking at my Tesla app right now just to give you an idea of our solar system. It's on standby. Hold on, let's see. I'm charging my car right now, so I'm pulling from the grid right now because my solar system's not generating nearly enough at this point in time. So yeah, so it's just depends on you where you live. Are you in an incorporated area that has building codes and all of that, and what your utility company will allow you to do? Most is grid tied, and most probably, if you can do grid tied with net metering, you can do solar without a battery, which is more cost effective. You're very, very welcome. Hope you're doing well. Happy holidays to you and your family. So going back to ways you can pay for it. The other way is like literally paying cash. So $1,000 down payment is the most a company can. In most states, there's a law. There's like, you can't take more than $1,000 down. But that $1,000 down payment is usually all that's required to get going on the project for you. And that means getting to site survey, getting all the permits and engineering designs all done, and getting that permitted. And then some will have like 4 progress payments: the down payment, equipment procurement. Some might have you pay a percentage, like 30% for that. At that point in time when they're like, okay, we are moving forward, we are getting the equipment, we're securing it. And then there's usually another progress payment at installation. So when the installation is completed, there'll be a payment there. If there's no equipment payment, then it will be like a 60 to 80% progress payment at installation. So when the installers come, install the solar panels on your rooftop, and they leave, you're going to either make a payment to the installer, like through what is it when you transfer the money over, or you're going to write a check. Either way, you're going to do that. Some take credit card payments if you have the credit card to do that, but you want to make sure you pay that off very quickly. And then you make the remaining cash payment when the final inspection has completed. And then after final inspection happens, then the installer submits it to the utility company for PTO. So there may be some overlap. Whether you take out a loan or you pay cash, there may be some overlap from the time the final inspection happens to the time you get PTO, because once they submit it to the utility company, they being the installer submits it to the utility company, they don't have control of when the utility company is going to turn on your system or say you can turn it on. Zelle. No, not Zelle. It's I'm totally drawing a blank on this right now. Not Zelle. You can't pay Zelle, I don't think, but it's where you make a bank payment from your bank to the installer's bank account. You can do a wire transfer. If someone can remember, it's not Zelle though. Yeah, I don't think you can do Zelle. But that is paying cash is going to be the best bang for your buck because you're not taking out financing. You're not having to take out a loan. I'd say the pro to that is you're going to be able to get your tax credit back as needed, or when, based on your tax liability. Maybe you don't have it all in the first year and you need to recoup it. Yes, ACH. Thanks, Mike. ACH. You can do direct deposit. You can do all those things, direct deposit, ACH, or wire transfer. Those are different ways that an installer can take a cash payment. But going back to that levelized cost per kilowatt hour is the best bang for your buck. So the pros are you're getting the best deal, if you will, to pay for your solar system, because you're paying. Cash is king. It's always going to, well, some might not think that right now, but cash is king. So if you have the cash, you have the means to pull out cash or do that, that is always going to be the best thing. The risk is, the pros are, the cons are, it's a huge capital front. Like, you have to come up with the money somehow. If you don't have it all, you might have to cash out some stocks or investments. By the way, if you follow Bitcoin's up, or at least yesterday it was up to $40,000. That's really exciting. That's a side note, but some people might cash out with their Bitcoin, a little bit of Bitcoin, to pay for their solar system. I've heard of people cashing out Bitcoin to buy houses with cash. So there's something about being able to do that. If you can, it's the best bang for your buck. The cons, let me go over the cons. High capital into, like, you need the money. The other thing is if you're going to go pay cash with for solar, you want to go with a very strong, reputable solar installing company, because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want that company to go out of business and then not complete your project. You would think that wouldn't happen, but I have talked to homeowners who have found me on YouTube and called me and said, I paid cash for my system. They did not submit the net metering paperwork, or they did not complete it. They went out of business. And I feel so bad for them, and there's nothing I can do for them at that point in time. So you just want to make sure you go with a reputable installer. And I only work with reputable installers. That's always what I want to do. So there are pros and cons there's pros and cons to all of these. So I want to cover them to make sure you all understand what's available. If someone knocks on your door and says, hi, I'm here out helping people like you go solar and switch your, redirect your money from the utility company to solar, whether it's a lease or, a solar loan. I'm going to get to leases in a second. The solar loan or the solar lease is not your only option. You have options. And sorry for everybody who's out there selling solar one way. Maybe it works for people, but most people want to know what their options are and what the best financial option is. And that's why I'm creating this video. So cash is an option. You can pay cash. And it is, I see articles online of, oh, if you pay cash, there's a big upfront cost. Well, $1,000 is, for most, hopefully that's not a lot of money. I don't know what a lot of money is to a lot of people, but $1,000, if you have cash to pay for your solar system, $1,000 is a very small small percentage of what you're going to pay for your solar system. And it is going to give you the best levelized cost per kilowatt hour. The third way that you can pay for your solar system, if you wish, is you can go to your bank or your local credit union and you can find out what they offer in terms of solar loans. More and more banks and credit unions are getting into this space because more and more people are going solar. And of course, banks want your money. Credit unions, they want a piece of this. So you can go, I would say you start with a credit union first. They're always going to be better than banks. No offense to all my friends that are bankers. But credit unions usually are a little bit more in favor of their, the credit union members. They're going to offer member, credit union loans. And I think some of them are 20 years now. Back in the day, they were like 10 years. So some people wanted more time to pay for their solar system, because you got to look at You're paying for an asset that's going onto your rooftop that's going to generate power for you at less than what the utility company is charging you for currently right now for most people in America. Certainly in places like New York, California, um, Arizona's going up, Texas is going up, Florida's going up. The Northeast is very expensive for energy. Hawaii, expensive for energy. So this is the way things are going. Energy is just getting more expensive. And so when you go solar, you're reducing your cost. But you can go to your credit union and take out a solar loan. And when this is how you do it as a homeowner, you're working with a solar consultant or company. You want to let them know that because the way it works is it works like a cash quote or cash price. So you still have to go back to the cash price, paying cash where you pay $1,000 down. You still have to pay $1,000 down. And then you got to work it out with the credit union and the solar installer, how they're going to pay for the solar system. It's usually the credit union is usually going to either cut a check to the installer, or there's not very many people that I know that do this. But I imagine if you're taking out the solar loan, I don't think they're going to write the check to you because it's not a personal loan to you. It's a loan to pay for your solar system. So you need to figure out, I would assume it's very similar to how cash projects are paid for. But when you take it out, maybe the cost to borrow money is less with the credit union or the bank other than taking it out with, say, the lender, the solar loan through the installer partnership. So you can do this. So if you're going to go this route, talk to your credit union first, find out what the rules are. I wasn't able to help this one homeowner, unfortunately, because their credit union, the way that they dispersed the money was not the way that the solar installer, they needed all the money before everything happened, like before the final inspection and stuff like that. But they were not going to do it until interconnection. And that's, for some, that's risky on the installer's part. So it's got to be a good happy medium for everybody involved. So that's one way. So again, if you go through the credit union and take out a solar loan, it's going to be for the cash price for on the solar agreement, and they will pay that way. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so the fourth way that you can pay for a solar system is you can go with a solar lease. And oftentimes these are $0 out of pocket as well. If you want to put a down payment down and have your monthly payments be a little bit less, you can go that route too. Oftentimes you do need a credit score of 640 and higher. Some of these will go down to like 620, 610, but 640 is like kind of like that baseline of what all these leasing companies and lending companies require. The nice thing about this is when you take out a solar lease, it doesn't affect your DTI, your debt to income ratio, because it doesn't show up as a loan. You're not taking out a loan. You're leasing solar equipment that's going to generate power for your home, and you make a monthly payment. Some of these leases you can ask for a 0% escalator, or most of them are a 3% default escalator. And the reasoning behind this, and this is more of like why a solar lease, why there's the escalator in there, is because it's still a financial instrument from the leasing company to you. So I don't want to say that's how they make their money, but it's still less than the utility rate escalation, the average utility rate escalation, which is 4% on average. If you live in California, it's more like 8 to 15%. It's going to be 13% starting in January. So we're 30 days away, less than 30 days away from Californians experiencing a 13% rate increase overnight. So plan for that. If you live in California, specifically PG&E, SDE, and SDGE, they might have SDGE and SDE may have a little bit less rate increase, but for PG&E, I know they've already announced a 13% rate increase starting in January for gas and electric. So when you go with a solar lease, You're leasing the equipment. It's a 25-year term. There are different leases that allow you to purchase the solar system after year 5. And the reason for that is you're foregoing the tax credit because the leasing company owns the solar equipment. So they take the tax credit and they depreciate the system. So after 5 years, they're done depreciating it for most. And then there's the market value, and you should always know what that market value is in your solar lease. They usually have a schedule and it'll show you. If you, let me back up and say some leasing companies, and then this is like Sunrun will let you purchase it after 5 years, at 25 years, or if you're selling the house. You can't just decide at year 8 you're going to buy the system. There are leasing companies out there, and one of them is Everbright. Everbright will allow you to purchase a system all the way up anytime after year 6 up to year 25, or if you're going to sell the house. So there's different leasing companies that offer different opportunities and options to get out of the lease. But leasing is a great way if you don't want to take out a loan, if you don't want it to affect your DTI, if you don't have a federal tax liability, but you just want to reduce your monthly costs for energy, a lease is perfectly fine and a great financial instrument or product to be in to reduce your energy costs. So leasing used to have a bad rap. I don't know why, but most people could finance it and it come out better than the lease price, meaning cost per kilowatt hour. And so that for them would be better than taking out the lease. But leasing is a wonderful option at this point in time with where we're at with the economy today. Another option, which is not as popular, but is totally possible and available, which is a prepaid solar lease. You pay cash, like you pay for the system, you pay for the lease for 25 years. So this might be someone who doesn't have tax liability, like investors or people who just reduce their tax liability completely with investments and don't have that tax liability, so they can't take the tax credit, but want to pay for their solar system up front, all clear, but have the 25-year warranties for the batteries, for the solar system, for the maintenance, for all the things that are the benefits of leasing equipment versus ownership. So when you own a system, most of your installers are going to include, they're going to come with a 25-year warranty on the panels, the inverters, on the workmanship, things like that. Those are pretty standard. But when you purchase a solar system and say something is out of warranty and it goes down, if there's not a production guarantee, which not everybody offers a production guarantee, if something goes wrong with your solar equipment, it's on you to have it replaced, repaired. Some have workmanship warranties. Some solar installers will have extended warranties for labor and things like that. Some companies offer things like Solar Insure. So you want to make sure that when you're talking to a solar consultant and company, that you find out what the warranties are. Leasing, as long as it's not damaged by, and this is the same with when you purchase, like I have kids, I tell them, do not, and they're all into sports, do not throw balls up onto our solar panels. Do not try and hit a ball on, we don't even allow, the only like baseball we allow is, for throwing, but do not do that. My husband broke our bathroom window one summer day because he missed the netting, because we're golfers and we used to have a golf net. And so we would like pretend like we were at the driving range. And so we just practice our swing. Well, he missed the golf net and it hit our bathroom window and it shattered the bathroom window. If it had gone a little bit higher and hit our one of our solar panels, it would have probably cracked it. It may have damaged it slightly, but the glass is very thick, like it's tempered glass. You can walk on the solar panels. I don't recommend it. But I've had people have solar panels installed and they see footprints and they're like, who stepped on my solar panel? And they're very durable. But that being said, you still don't want to do any damage to your solar panels or any of the inverters or anything like that, because if it's human done or if it's an act of God, like a tree falls down and like that's not covered by warranties. So you want to check also, read your agreements over very well and make sure you understand what you're responsible for and what's covered by warranty. But when you lease a system, it's it's on the leasing company for 25 years to make sure that your solar system is producing because that's a part of the lease. So there are good financial benefits for going solar with a lease over purchasing. But some people, just like your home, some people want to purchase a home, they don't want to rent a home. So with a lease, you're essentially renting it until you make that option. If you want to exit the lease and purchase it, then it's on you. The only thing I would say about the leasing is you don't get to take the tax credit. So the federal tax credit. So that's very important to understand. So you can do a prepaid solar lease, you can do a regular solar lease, and oftentimes these are for 25 years. And they're still going to be hopefully be less expensive than what you're paying to the utility company. You can go to your credit union or bank and ask if they offer solar loans, and then you're paying the bank or credit union a monthly payment for whatever the term is. You do want to find out, ask them about liens on the house. Is it on the house or is it on the solar equipment? When you can pay cash, that's, uh, always an option. When you take out a solar loan, there is no lien against the home. There's a UCC-1 filing or lien that is put against the solar equipment. So if you default on your loan payments with the solar lender and you're not paying your solar payments, they can come take the equipment. So just like a repossession, if you don't pay for your car or if you have to foreclose on a house because you're not paying for your mortgage, like this is just the reality and what you need to be aware of when you go solar. So all of these options are great options. I would say are, depending on how you do solar or how you do your finances, I should say, is going to help you determine what's the best financial tool for getting solar put on your house. In California, when you're going solar now, you do need solar plus storage, and we need your interval data. SDE, I think, gives it in 15-minute increments. PG&E, SDG, I believe, give it in hourly increments. But this is important to understand because your solar production drops off dramatically in the winter months. So I always tell homeowners November, December, January, February, you're still going to produce some solar. It's just not going to be, it might not be enough to cover your usage. And certainly when the sun goes down under NEM 3.0, when the sun goes down, you need to be pulling from the battery if you have a battery. If you don't have a battery, then you're buying energy from the grid. So you may have a solar payment or a lease payment. And then on top of that, a utility payment for whatever your solar is not covering for you during the wintertime months. So we need to know how much energy you're using, what appliances you're using, because there is a bit of a surge and it's going to pull from the battery, to start up, say, I don't know, a stove or a hot kettle. There's going to be things, but most homes are not going to be having such a huge peak startup that 1 to 2 batteries is not going to be sufficient. It will be sufficient, is what I'm saying. So we do need to understand the loads in your home, what you're using in the wintertime and summertime, like AC, for instance. But most of these batteries, for most battery manufacturers, is going to give you 5 kilowatts of continuous energy to run those appliances. AC, if it's in the summertime and you're running solar and AC and storage, you're gonna need at least 2 batteries to do that. So everything, all these costs are all calculated in the solar loan, in the cash price, in the leasing. And we just need to understand, have this conversation particular to your home, how you do your finances, what's the best way to go about getting solar for your home so that at the end of the day, you're saving money, investing in an asset like a lease. Most people, I don't know, you know, I did talk to a homeowner who has been solar powered for 20 years. The solar clearly is working. And I was just looking at my solar production. We've been solar powered now for almost 5 years, and it has saved us so much. It's one solar system. We have two solar systems. One of our solar systems has generated 17,000 kilowatt hours for our home. And some people use 17,000 kilowatt hours a year. So, but 17,000 kilowatt hours in today's rates, and then I'm going to use 48 cents a kilowatt hour. 17,000 kilowatt hours times 45 cents. That's $7,650. Some of you are paying that a year. But with solar, and you get a levelized cost of per kilowatt hour, let's say it's 25 cents. That is 40. So $4,200, $4,250. So you're saving over $3,000 a year by just switching to solar. And again, the levelized cost per kilowatt hour will vary based on how you pay for your solar system, whether because with solar leasing, let me just say this, solar leasing, you're going to start out with a price per kilowatt hour. That's usually how the leases start. And if you get just solar, you're going to start out at a cost per kilowatt hour. And then if you get storage, it's going to increase it. So you can, it's just all depends on the equipment that you get. And it also does depend on the brand of solar panels you get, the brand of inverter you get. Like if you get Enphase, not everyone throws Enphase in at no additional cost. It depends on the type of battery you get. Are you getting a self-consumption battery only, or are you getting a backup and self-consumption battery? So it all varies. And this is where a consultation is really, really important. And that's where I'm going to invite you. If you're interested in getting solar, go to my website, jamiegreenthesolarqueen.com, and fill out the form and book an appointment with me. I can help homeowners in 34 states go solar. So it's not just California. And like my friend in Oregon, I was just talking to him and we looked at the utility. What do they have net metering? When do they true up? What does it look like? So just if you're interested in solar, go to the website. You're going to fill out a form. It's also going to ask you, how do you think you want to pay for this? If you're watching this video, let me know. Say, I'm interested in a lease, I'm interested in financing, or I'm interested in paying cash. And then that way, when we put together a solar proposal, we can put it together so it's providing you with the cost of going solar based on how you want to pay for it. So that's it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. I know a lot of you are new to the channel and you're checking out the videos. I have a lot of videos. I'm going to post at the very end. I'll go back and share some videos that you can go and watch. One of them is I have a playlist of what to expect when going solar. I probably should update it because things have changed since I've created that video specifically for Californians. But go ahead and check that out. And I just last week I made a video on what happens if you get how the tax credit works for people that got installed in 2023, which I cannot believe we're 4 weeks out from ending the year. And I do want to say, if you do get those $500, $600, $700 summertime electricity bills and you want to eliminate those and not ever pay that again, now is the perfect time to start looking into getting solar. If you live in a place where it gets snow, like in the Northeast, you're probably not going to be able to get installed until the springtime, and that's fine. But if you live in places like California, Texas, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, anywhere in the southern parts of the states where we don't get snow, you should really look into getting solar now so that by the time you get everything, you know, signed off and interconnected, you are solar powered and right in time for the best solar production months of the year, which is starting usually in May all the way to September, October. That's when you're going to really see those true savings come into play. So make sure to visit my website, fill out the form, book an appointment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.